Welcome to your daily 49ers update. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. Here is what's happening. Another day, another name added to the list of potential 49ers defensive coordinator candidates. This one comes from a report of Nick Wagoner of ESPN, who said Dennis Allen could be a person of interest for the 49ers as they search for the successor to Nick Sorensen. Now, who is Dennis Allen? Glad you asked. Last year, he began as the head coach of the Saints before getting fired. He did win a Super Bowl in 2009 as the secondary coach under Sean Payton. He's been a defensive coordinator with multiple teams. As you can see, he runs the same 4-3 scheme the Niners run, but he uses a bunch of different coverages, and he is not afraid to blitz when he needs to, unlike recent 49ers defensive coordinators. Been a mixed bag in terms of success, though. He wasn't very good with the Broncos in 2011. With the Saints, it took him a few years to get things up and running. So it's not a home run hire, but it is someone who has head coaching experience. It's someone who is not going to get another head coaching job. So you wouldn't have to worry about Dennis Allen leaving after one good season, which is something that can happen when you're talking about coordinators. Again, to be clear, no interview is scheduled. No interview has been conducted. This is just a name that was mentioned by Nick Wagoner, but Nick does great work, so we wanted to pass that along. A couple others mentioned by Nick that we'll get to a little bit later in the show. In terms of the other coordinator position the 49ers have to fill, that would be special teams coordinator. They did interview Chris Banjo. He is the Broncos assistant special teams coordinator. If you don't know anything about him, can't really fault you for that. Let's get you up to speed. Banjo actually played 10 years in the NFL as a defensive back. He hasn't been coaching very long. He retired in 2022. He's been coaching for the last 2 years with the Denver Broncos. As a whole, the Broncos special teams unit was pretty good this past season. Not as good as the Lions, who the Niners are also sort of rating their staff, but still very, very solid. So that is a good sign that the 49ers are expanding their net at special teams coordinator, and hopefully we could have a hire there soon. One more interview for coordinator. This is offensive coordinator. Remember, the Niners tried to give it to Clay Kubiak, but now they have to actually conduct interviews. They did one of those this week with Iowa State wide receiver coach Noah Pauley. Now, he wasn't there when Brock Purdy was there, so they did not overlap. But he was at North Dakota State when Trey Lance was there. He's the wide receiver coach at North Dakota State. Again, we all expect Clay Kubiak to get the job, but the 49ers have to do their due diligence, and they've done it with Noah Pauley. We always give you one thing to read, one thing to watch, and one thing you might have missed. One thing to read on this Tuesday, Matt Maiocco has dropped his first mock draft. I know we're officially in mock draft season. Maiocco has one at NBC Sports Bay Area. I have the link in the description of the episode. Not sure what your reaction is going to be, but it's definitely a position of need for the 49ers. One thing you may have missed. Let's get to some of the other names that Nick Wagoner mentioned in his article. Some that you may not be happy about, but I think a pretty good spread when it comes to who the 49ers are looking at. Again, just to be clear, not all these guys have interviewed or have interviews scheduled with the 49ers, but the search will continue, and those are some names to keep an eye on. One thing you may have missed, this actually came out while I was in Houston celebrating my birthday, but it infuriated me, so I wanted to include it here. George Kittle got screwed by the writers for the All-Pro team. Somehow Kittle was second behind Brock Bowers, of the Raiders. I need this explained to me. Bowers played 2 more games than George Kittle. He had 59 more targets than George Kittle. He had just 88 more yards than George Kittle, and he had fewer touchdowns than George Kittle. Yet somehow 85 for the 49ers is not a first-team All-Pro. Make it make sense. George, I'm sorry. I feel for you. I think this was the best year you've ever had. And yet, second team All-Pro. That ain't right. That's a wrap on today's 49ers in 5. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio pods. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Click the bell to get notified when we're live, which is every single weekday, and after all 49ers breaking news. Enjoy your Tuesday, everybody. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. We'll talk later today.